every morning with drive. Being on the grind, know I had to survive. We had to win. Started from the dirt and the rubble. I had to be the needle that was popping your bubble.
Hello and welcome into the Rookie Prospect Profile Series. This is a Zilla Fantasy Elite production. Today we're going to be looking at wide receiver Brenden Rice within the rookie wide receiver machine learning models. Can Brenden Rice go from a late round draft pick into fantasy stardom? Don't miss out on the insights from our advanced algorithms as they provide the analysis. All right, Brenden Rice was drafted pick number 225 overall by the Los Angeles Chargers. That is the 7th round of the NFL draft. He actually played college football for Colorado and then for the USC Trojans. And Rice is the son of Pro Football Hall of Fame wide receiver Jerry Rice. So kind of an interesting prospect here. Again, the machine learning model's not going to know anything about Jerry Rice's kid or anything like that. But Jerry Rice's kid does come in at 6'2", 208 pounds. Pretty healthy there for a wide receiver. He had an 18.5 breakout age. And 33-inch arms, ran a 4.50 in the 40-yard dash. Otherwise, pretty unremarkable there. Vertical jump, 36.5, I believe, is a little bit below average for wide receivers. The broad jump, 119. It's not super explosive. Did have a 30% college dominator rating, 9 and 5/8 inch hands, which is a little bit above average for wide receivers. So how's he going to come out in the model? Let's dip into year one and find out. And unfortunately, as we may expect, Brenden Rice, year one, late round draft pick. The model does not like him in year one. Mean and median at 2.62 and 2.49 respectively. Again, this is fantasy points per game. This is not what you want out of any of your draft picks. 37th best in the class. Then we look at the maximum output at 23rd best in the class, 9.10. And seeing something within his profile that says, hey, he's actually a little bit higher than you would expect for a maximum output there at 9.10. So let's go look at historical comps in the last 11 draft classes. Who is hitting about 2.5 fantasy points per game, where his mean and median is, and then that 9.10 mark. Believe it or not, we have a tremendous amount of wide receivers in this particular range during their rookie season. So we're going to go from 2.39 fantasy points per game to 2.6 fantasy points per game and list all of the wide receivers who hit that particular range in their rookie season. Anthony Schwartz, Leonte Carew, Bryce Butler, Khalil Shakir, Mario Alford, Lamar Thomas, Damian Willis, Bruce Ellington, Terrace Marshall, Jamison Williams, Freddie Swain, Malik Heath, Pharoh Cooper, and Chad Beebe. You have an interesting list of characters here. Khalil Shakir, going into his third year, all of a sudden it's like, well, he might end up producing here in his third season. Same with Jamison Williams. Not a very good first year. He's also going into his third year, and it's looking like he might break out in his third year. So perhaps Brenden Rice goes the route of this, although Jamison Williams was a first round pick, so should have been a little bit better than that. Let's go look at the maximum output at 9.10. It's exactly Derek Willis in his rookie season, whoever that is. Robert Foster hit 9. DeAndre Hopkins hit 8.9. Then last year, Jackson Smith and Jigba and Michael Wilson both hit 8.81. A little bit above that, John Brown hit 9.2. Josh Downs last year, 9.24. Kenbrell Tompkins and Corey Coleman hit 9.3. That's what the rookie season's looking like for Brenden Rice. Not particularly great there. Let's go look at year two, see if we see an improvement. And actually, yes, we do. We see Brenden Rice bump up to almost 5.5 fantasy points per game here. We see that rank, even though he was one of the last drafted wide receivers in the NFL draft. He's inside the top half of what we're looking at for this particular class. 20th across the board for mean and median, and his maximum there in terms of the rank is at 5.65 and 5.6 for mean and median, and then 12.24 for the maximum output. Considering his late round pick, this is actually pretty good for his particular profile, saying, hey, this he's kind of in the top half of the prospects here in this class. Not too bad for a late round prospect. You're just probably shouldn't expect anything out of year one. Go scoop him up after year one, and maybe we'll see an improvement here. So 5.65, who was roughly in that particular 5 to 6 range during their second season as an NFL wide receiver, and we actually have quite a few in there. I'm just going to list everybody that hit in between 5 and 6 fantasy points per game. It's a large list, but it'll give you the rough range of names that you can expect for a median outcome. Justin Hardy, Paul Richardson, Freddie Swain, we saw him, I believe, in the last one. Chris Moore, Josh Huff, Devin Duvernay, N'Keal Harry, Deontay Hardy, Marquess Wilson, Deshaun Hamilton, Hunter Sharp, Elijah Moore, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Alec Pierce, Brandon Johnson, Nelson Aguilar, Tyler Boyd, Chester Rogers, Terrace Marshall, Sammy Coates, and Devin Funchess. We saw Terrace Marshall and a few others in there that were repeats from the median in year one. Some interesting names in there. Tyler Boyd, Nelson Aguilar, both went on to have couple decent seasons after that, over double-digit fantasy points per game. Elijah Moore, kind of an interesting one there, taking a dip back in his second season there from his rookie year. So, interesting enough there for median prospect. Let's go look at the maximum output at 12.24. That's right in the range of Henry Ruggs and George Pickens within the last 11 draft classes. This would be roughly top 45. So Henry Ruggs, 12.07, George Pickens, 12.28. A little bit above that, we have Chosen Robbie Anderson, Keenan Allen, and Garrett Wilson, all between 12.5 and 12.54 fantasy points per game. Some pretty solid numbers there. Brenden Rice reaches a ceiling in year two. A little bit below that, we have Jamison Crowder at 12, Kenny Stills, 11.6, Deebo Samuel, 11.53. Corey Davis, 11.5, and then Marquise Brown and Chris Godwin at 11.44 and 11.4 respectively. So interesting names there for sure, and a prospect that was a late round draft pick. Let's go look at year three, see if we see any further improvement. And yeah, actually we do. It really likes Brenden Rice. This particular profile, it says, hey, he's not going to be very good year one. He's a late round draft pick, but whatever it sees in his particular profile, it is expecting a second year bump up and then a third year breakout here inside the top 10. His mean and median, the 8th best in the class in year three at 7.89 and 7.88 respectively. Pretty spread evenly across the board in this particular profile. Then his maximum output at 13th best in the class is at 15.68. Kind of an interesting one there. CV at 34.5 is just over that 30% threshold we like to see it in to be super confident in these results. But let's go look who is hovering in between about 7.5 to 8 fantasy points per game in year three. See what kind of names we're looking at. And these names are in between 7.4 and 8 fantasy points per game. Got Tyler Lockett, John Brown, Bryce Butler, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore again, and Adam Humphries in their third seasons, all in this range. Tyler Lockett, we know, went on to have some pretty good career success. John Brown took him a little bit longer, but he also found some success late in his career. He actually was at 13.8 fantasy points per game in his second season as well, but he was somebody that was solid. Corey Davis, we saw go on to have a decent year as well. Jury's out on Elijah Moore, but he's going into his fourth season. Does he break out in Cleveland this year? Probably not, but some interesting names there nonetheless in his median range of outcomes, especially for a guy that was drafted in the 7th round. Not bad people to be compared to there. Maximum output at 15.68. Let's go take a peek at what that looks like. Who is hitting in this particular range in their third season? That's right in between Tyler Boyd and Kenny Golladay in their third season. So Kenny Golladay 15.5, Tyler Boyd 15.8. Pretty big jump up to Brandon Cooks at 16.4 and Jamar Chase 16.42. Cooper Kupp 16.9. A little bit below Kenny Golladay, Devontae Adams hit 15.3 in his third year, which is his big breakout year. Hunter Renfrow, 15.24, Will Fuller, 15.2, and then a big jump down to DK Metcalf at 14.37. So really good maximum output there for Brenden Rice in year three. Kind of an interesting profile. Do we see more improvement going into year four? What's it look like? And we actually see he's in the teens here. He does drop down into the 5.92 to 5.64 mean and median range for his year 4 output, but the rank's pretty solid, 16th and 14th maximum there, maximum output at 14.56, CV 24th best in the class. So it's not super confident in these results, but it's also not saying this is totally aberrant results. So very interesting profile here from a late round draft pick. Looks like the Chargers maybe have some sort of analysis that they do and say, hey, this guy's got some traits that we think he could break out, really develop into a good player. Let's go look at year 4. Who was hitting the 5.5 to 6 range? We got all these players in between 5.4 and 6 fantasy points per game. Cody Latimer, Nick Williams, Devontae Parker, Chris Conley, Jordan Matthews, Russell Shepard, Justin Hunter, Alex Erickson, Jerron Brown, and Quinton Patton. Not a very good list there, only Devontae Parker, any sort of fantasy relevance. Jordan Matthews was good in the beginning of his career and then fell off into year 4. So interesting names there. The maximum output at 14.56 is pretty solid there. It's just below Juju Smith-Schuster in his 4th season at 14.63. Mari Cooper hit 14.4 in his 3rd season. Calvin Ridley 14.22. And then a little bit above that, Brandon Ayuk 15.58. That's actually a pretty big jump up there. Michael Pittman 15.64. Tyreek Hill 15.7 in their 4th seasons. So very interesting profile here from a late round draft pick in Brenden Rice. I think going into your rookie drafts, this guy kind of going in the 5th round for a lot of them. I don't know if he goes undrafted in many, 12-team 5-round drafts, but if he does, this is certainly a guy that I'd be interested in picking up off the waivers to stash on my bench. I don't know if I would take him necessarily over any running backs who have opportunity in year 1, but Brenden Rice is walking into a situation with Ladd McConkey expected to be the wide receiver 1 on the team. Otherwise, I got DJ Chark, Quentin Johnston, last year's bust, and Josh Palmer. So not a huge wide receiver room to really boost up. He could end up being a wide receiver 1 on this particular squad if those guys end up failing and this guy develops. But, if you can pick him up, stash him on the taxi squad, or maybe, hey, just feel out year 1 if it looks like, this guy's just not getting a ton of run. He's got that in his profile where it's expecting him to break out later in his career. Maybe pick him up after year 1 for the cheap. Hey, 5th round draft pick, throw him his way, or somebody that you're about to cut on the waivers, send a trade offer for Brenden Rice. Hey, I'll give you somebody like Tyler Boyd, and going into, after next season, I'll give you Tyler Boyd, you give me Brenden Rice, we'll call it good. And then you dust your hands off, say, hey, I'm good, and collect the rewards there from Brenden Rice. So very interesting prospect. I think I would be interested in housing this guy on my dynasty rosters and hoping that he can develop later in his career. All right, that's going to do it for today's rookie prospect profile on Brenden Rice. This is presented by Zilla Fantasy Elite. Thanks for tuning in, and smash that subscribe button. Thank you. Bye.